Hello everyone, and this is Miss Marie Chris again. So welcome again to my next lesson. So today I am going to discuss about language assessment. So before we go through our topic, let us have the major points of my topic. So first one is the what is a language assessment? Next is types of language assessment. Then the last one, principles of language assessment. So let us define first the word assessment. So assessment refers to the act of collecting information and making judgment about a language learner's knowledge of a language and ability to use it. So, assessment is a part of evaluation. Variety of ways of collecting information on language ability or achievement of a learner. So, after defining assessment, let us have the types of tests used in language assessment. So, let us have first the placement test. So, the purpose of placement test is to place a student into a particular level or section of a language curriculum and to create groups of learners that are homogeneous in level. So, some proficiency tests can act in the role of placement. So, it usually includes a sampling of materials to cover in a course. So, placement tests come in many varieties. So, I have listed 3 varieties here. So, first one is the written and oral performance. Next is the open-ended and limited response. And the last one is multiple choice and gap filing. So, our next test is language aptitude test. So, what is language aptitude test? So, this is designed to measure capacity and general ability to learn a foreign language. So, in this kind of test, there are 2 standard tests, the MLAT and the PLOB. So, let us have the modern language aptitude test, which is used to measure an individual's aptitude for learning a foreign language. So, in MLAT or Modern Language Aptitude Test, language learning aptitude does not refer to whether or not an individual can or cannot learn a foreign language. So, it is assumed that virtual everyone can learn a foreign language in a given adequate opportunity. So, in MLAT, learning language aptitude refers to the prediction of how well, relative to other individuals, an individual can learn a foreign language in a given amount of time and under given conditions. So, next one is the Pimsleur Language Aptitude Battery. So, or the PLOB. So, this is an off-the-shelf test available for sale to educators and others who have need a language aptitude test. So, in PLOB, learning language or language learning aptitude does not refer to whether or not an individual can or cannot learn a foreign language. So, but it is assumed that virtual everyone can learn a foreign language in a given unlimited amount of time. If the MLAT has given amount of time and under given condition, PLOB is given a unlimited amount of time to learn the language. So, unlike MLAT, PLOB language learning aptitude does not refer to the prediction of how well, relative to other individuals, an individual can learn a foreign language in a given amount of time and under given condition. So that is their differences. So next test is the diagnostic test. So this is designed to diagnose specified aspects of a language for further help. For example, a test in pronunciation might diagnose that phonological features of English that are difficult for learners. So, in diagnostic tests, generally, such tests offer a checklist of features for the teachers to use in pinpointing the difficulties. And it is a test can have dual purposes. It is both for placement and diagnostic. So, next test is the achievement test or the progress test. So, this is directly related to classroom lessons. Units, curriculum limited to the materials in the curriculum. So, it is administered at various stages throughout a course to see what students have learned. Achievement tests are generally administered at mid and end point of the semester. So next one is the proficiency test. So to test globally competence in a language. So not limited to one course, curriculum, or single skill to test overall ability. So it generally consists of standardized multiple choice items on grammar, vocabulary, reading comprehension, and oral comprehension, and sometimes with a written component. So they are summative and generally norm reference. So the example of this is the TOEFL or the TOEFL. So from this test, we can assess the students on how they speak and how they use the grammar rules when they are speaking and writing something in an English language. So after this lesson, we are going to have the principle of testing. So first one is the usefulness. So from the word usefulness, So this is something about for this is something about how we plan our testing material. So this is what are we going to use the test for? Is it something on simply means that what will be the purpose of our test? Where are we going to use the kind of test? And each test must have a specific purpose, a particular group of test takers, and a specific language used in mind. So next one is validity. So answers the question to what extent the inferences made from the assessment are appropriate, meaningful, and useful in terms of the purpose of assessment. In validity, test what you teach and how you teach it. So example, a valid test of reading ability measures only the reading ability, not the previous knowledge, not a vision. So there are three types of validity. So the first one is the content validity. So the test assesses the course content itself. Next is the construct validity. So the fit between the underlying theories and methodology of language learning and the type of assessment. For example, teaching, writing, and process, but assessing only the product means it doesn't have a construct validity. So last one is the phase validity. The test looks as if it measures what is supposed to measure. So it should look professional. So next one is reliability. So a reliable test is consistent and dependable. So if a test is given to the same group of students or match students 2 different times, the test should yield similar result. So there are factors that affect reliability. So first one is the student-related reliability. So a temporary illness, a bad day, anxiety, etc. may affect the true score of the test taker. Next one is the rater reliability. So human errors, subjectivity can affect the score or the inter-rater reliability. So next one is the test administration reliability. So the conditions in which the test is administered. There are noise, weather, and copy quality, and etc. So the last one is the test reliability. So the nature of the test, its length of the test, too many or too few items, and the poorly written test items. So that is how we measure the reliability of a test. Next one is the practicality. So it is not excessively expensive. It stays within appropriate time constraints. So when we say practicality, it is relatively easy to administer. It has a scoring procedure that is specific and time efficient. So next one is the Washback. Washback in classroom assessment. First one is diagnosing students' weakness and strengths. Next one is preparation for the assessment. So, the examples of this test are the formative, formal, and summative assessment. Because these tests are said to be a positive washback. Why? Because they assess the strength and weaknesses of the students from the start, during the class period, and after the class period. So next is the authenticity. So if the characteristics of a given language test corresponds to the feature of target a language task, then we are talking about authenticity. So, authenticity is present in the following ways. Number 1, language is unnatural as possible. Next, items are contextualized and not isolated. So the items must be in appropriate construction. Next is topics are meaningful for the learners. Next one is some thematic organization is present. For example, the storyline. Next, and the last one is tasks represent real world tasks. So, let us have the last one principle, and which is the transparency. So, when we say transparency, this is clear, accurate information to students about testing. So, transparency involves students in the assessment process. So, in transparency, there are some contexts need to consider. These are the outcomes to be evaluated, and the formats used in evaluation. So, and the weighting of items and sections. And it also considered the time allowed to complete the test. The time we provide to complete the test item. So, and the last one is the grading criteria. So, to be a accurate and clear in a test item, we need to be transparent. So, we need to see those things that we are needed to prepare for our test items. So, in language assessment, we need to consider all the principles that we have to be able to attain a reliable and valid assessment for our students' ability. So, we need to consider those things. We are not just creating a language assessment for nothing. We need to consider those principles to have our assessment reliable and valid. So that's all for today. I hope you learned a lot of things about language assessment. So thank you for watching, and thank you for listening to my lesson. See you again and have a nice day. Thank you so much for listening.